Right, let's bring in my panel. Sky News host of Across Australia, Peter Gleeson in Brisbane, and Radio 2GB broadcaster, Sky News host himself, Chris Smith from Sydney. So not one member of this cabinet in Victoria knows who signed off on the private security guard, nor does any one of the various department chiefs, including the Emergency Management Commissioner. Chris, I've never seen anything like it. What about you?
Never, ever have I seen something like this. You have hearings for ICAC in New South Wales, and people really genuinely have difficulty trying to work out what happened 4 years ago. We're asking these ministers, these departmental heads on $700,000 plus a year to remember what they did or said or were told 4 months ago. It's not 4 years ago, it's 4 months ago. And this business about, oh, no one told me about security guards at hotel quarantine. Wouldn't it be incumbent on the Health Minister of the state of Victoria to take a progressive step and find out how safe is hotel quarantine? Seeing that we're in charge of it, are we putting the right people in place? Because many of these people will be COVID positive. So what are we doing? But no. You don't do any of that. You just sit there and hope that someone tells you what goes on. It's just extraordinary. She says there are too many cooks. Well, she is the health cook. She should have known exactly what
Too many cooks
went
is
on.
nothing we can eat. I mean, too many cooks is nothing we can eat.
It's an assault on democracy.
It is, Gleeso. It absolutely is. And, you know, the union
it's taking
that
Victorians for
represents
mugs.
this minister, a health workers union, Diane Asma, she wrote to the Premier saying, you know, Mikakis has got to go. You've got to sack her, she said. Breathtaking incompetence. But Daniel Andrews is backing her in. I mean, what's going to happen here is you're going to have every single one of these bureaucrats in their jobs now stay in their jobs, every single minister in their job stay in their job, and you've got a Premier who's going to hope that by dint of personality and spin, he's going to have Victorians at the end of the year thanking them for saving him, when the only reason we're in this mess is this bloke in charge.
Yeah. And they're all throwing each other under the bus. The hapless Pakula, the Jobs Minister, Sergeant Schultz, I know nothing. The hapless Police Minister, Lisa Neville, I know nothing. Sergeant Schultz, they're running around covering their bum at every opportunity. Look, I really hope, in all seriousness, that the Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews, tomorrow puts this thing to bed. That he finds out, and he has the power to find out where the memo is, where the smoking gun is, who actually made this call to bring in the hotel quarantine guards.
Don't hold your breath.
Well, I'm being naive, Chris Smith. I'm being hopeful. I'm hoping that this bloke has got the common decency to fess up. People are dying in Victoria. This is not just about politics. This is about people's lives. And I cannot believe that this bloke and this government are getting away with it. It's extraordinary. It's an assault on Australia's democracy.
Having been in these offices, let me tell you, the most important decision the Premier made a number of months ago when he established this inquiry was he gave it no powers to compel witnesses or subpoena documents. Now, most of the witnesses have turned up, obviously, but the subpoenaing of documents hasn't happened. They can all come there and say they can't remember, but if it was a proper judicial inquiry or Royal Commission, it would have the power to drag up every email, every memo, every bit of paper. And I can tell you, everyone saying that they can't remember when shown the email or the meeting brief or the diary commitment that they were in the room when the decisions were made has a very funny way of suddenly remembering stuff they're telling us they haven't remembered. Anyway, Jeff Kennett's coming up soon. We're going to get right into all of that. Facebook. When I have a look at Facebook, more and more of the school principals are out today saying that social media giants, Snapchat, Facebook, have got to do a hell of a lot more to stamp out cyberbullying. It comes as the E-Safety Commissioner says there's been a massive 73% lift in complaints last month compared to August last year. Now, Chris, also in all of this, Facebook are refusing to front a federal parliamentary inquiry into foreign influence on social media. They're not our friend. They barely pay taxes. They won't turn up and abide by our laws and parliamentary inquiries. How can we let them operate?
Well, they don't even think that they're subject to defamation laws around the world. They see themselves as in cyberspace, not necessarily subject to common law. They don't think they have to pay for news put together by other people. So they are a law unto themselves. But one day they'll get theirs, and hopefully we're heading in that direction. But going back onto Facebook and bullying, can I just say one thing you won't do? You won't be able to keep an eye on 2.7 billion users of Facebook and see whether they're bullying or not. You can't. Almost impossible to stop kids being addicted to social media like Facebook. Take it from me, as a father of teenagers, it's almost impossible to wean them off it. But what you can do is have a decent complaints unit where examples of bullying can not only be traced, but you can extract punishment, including taking them off social media. That's what's got to be in place.
Yeah, look, and I'm helping Erin Molan work on that. I know she's had conversations directly with the Prime Minister, so let's watch that space. Gleeson, I want to come back to Queensland. More shocking revelations today. Queensland Health were warned, not once but twice, that the hospital payment system wasn't ready for launch. Now, if they'd taken that advice, they could have saved taxpayers in Queensland more than $33 million. You're a heartbeat away from polling day now. We had the Auditor General yesterday saying $7 billion's out the back door, but he doesn't know where it's going. The Premier's Chief of Staff, former Chief of Staff, David Barbagallo, he was before the corruption watchdog. $500,000 of public money spent on nothing more than Labor polling, to my mind. You've got a Labor apparatchik, long-time Labor apparatchik, Mike Kaiser, on the government payroll. Seriously, is this mob going to get back in?
It just gets worse. Well, I hope not, Peter. I hope not. I hope the Queensland voters can see through this terrible, terrible government. And I was just thinking, you know, you think about what's happening in Victoria and you think about what's happening in Queensland. I can't split them, which is the worst government in this country, because they are both abominable. Yeah, this comes back to Stephen Miles. He's become the bother-in-chief. He's taken he's the poor man's Jackie Trad. He's taking on the Prime Minister. He took on Josh Frydenberg today. But he presided over a department
it's a wet lettuce.
that affects... I know he's a wet lettuce, but at the end of the day, I think you'd call him a Kendall. But at the end of the day, he presided over a department. And let's not forget here that the Department of Health in Queensland, I've never seen a more secretive department. They tell you nothing. So this had to be RTI'd to actually get it. And it shows mass incompetence. And all the while they were running around trying to fix this IT system and make sure that there weren't any blunders, the Health Minister was out there in typical Labor Palaszczuk government fashion saying everything's sweet, everything's under control, it's actually improving, when the exact opposite was happening. You cannot believe a word these people say, whether it's on a pandemic, whether it's on the state of the fiscal situation here in Queensland, whether it's child safety, whether it's youth crime. They're out of control.
Please, Queenslanders, restore my faith in democracy. Chris Smith, Peter Gleeson, thanks for your time as always. See you next week.
Peter.